Okay, guys, it's Missy Wolf, and I am here with Dan Miles, the owner of Backing to the Future. How are you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
I am doing well. I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to our interview for so long. Now, I came across you because I went to Graceland recently, and I was looking through all of their memorabilia on display, and I saw all the movie posters that Elvis had. From all the original ones, and you could see all the tape marks and the holes and the tears and the fold marks, and they were just in frames and they weren't matted or anything, and I was really pretty heartbroken because I'm a collector. And so I started investigating immediately, and before we even left Graceland, I have to tell you, I had already bought two posters from an online site before I even left Graceland, because I was so determined to have posters preserved for him, and I can't even tell you. So I came across your website after my research, and please tell everybody, what is linen backing and why is it so important to use?
Well, back in the day, movie posters were basically cheap advertising, and they were treated as such. They held very little value at all. In fact, they were distributed through the National Screen Service through in North America, in the United States, and in Canada. And there's a little disclaimer at the bottom of all of the posters, and one particular disclaimer said, after the movie is finished, either return or destroy this poster.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So they were used and abused, and in some cases, they'd be stapled to the wall and then torn off, and the corners would be missing. They'd be turned over and used as a sign for another movie. They'd be taped all over the place and used to doodle on and things like that. We've seen everything from the doodling, from the missing corners, to water damage, to you as you say, you name it. In fact, we are restoring a piece right now that was found under the floorboards of a home when they were doing a renovation. So the movie poster is from 1920 actually.
Wow.
It's called Prince Chap, and it would, I gather, leading into the Depression, they used this as an underpadding. So they glued the poster to a craft paper, a heavy brown craft paper, and then they put it under their hardwood as an insulation or an underpad. So now we're coming upon these treasures, mm-hmm. And as you rightly pointed out, they're folded. They've got all sorts of different flaws and damage to them, it's a part of history, and so what we're able to do is take these pieces of history and preserve them for future generations. So getting the answer to your mm-hmm. question, so basically linen backing is the proper way to restore and preserve paper, and not just movie posters. We do all sorts of posters, wear posters, sports posters, travel posters, those types of things. So what we do is we basically would remove any sort of tape or any sort of sticker or anything from the poster, and then we would basically take a heavy canvas foundation, mm-hmm. and then we would use a wheat starch adhesive, which is the proper way to restore. It's our archival glue that is basically reversible. So then we would take the heavy canvas, we would glue it with the wheat starch adhesive, and then we would put a acid-free Japanese masa paper on top of the canvas, and then we would glue that with the wheat starch, and then we would put the movie poster on top of that, and then we would roll it out, and essentially that would remove all of the creases mm-hmm. in the poster, all the fold lines in the poster. We would replace any missing paper at this point, so now you would have a full, complete poster.
Right.
And then we let it dry, and then we our artists go to work with using watercolors and pencil crayons and restore all the images and all of the missing color in the fold lines and, and where the missing where the corners, that sort of thing. And then so at the end of the day, your poster looks as close to coming off the press as possible. And the other thing about it is this process has to be technically reversible, and it is. So as I say, we use a wheat starch adhesive. So if we put it back and if we put the poster back in water, you can release it from the linen backing. But essentially, that's what linen backing is. It provides the foundation, it provides the stability, and it preserves the poster for future generations.
I think that's so great. And for someone like me who thought she knew about displaying posters properly, when I was like 5 or 6 years old when I got my first Bon Jovi poster, and I still have it. But that poster followed me from room to room, house to house, so by the time I had it framed, I was like, okay, I'm going to have this thing dry mounted, and I'm going to, I'm not just going to put it in a frame. They're going to help me make it look better. And, so I'm thinking I'm doing the right thing by my poster, and it's still got tape marks and holes and crinkles and tears in it. They're flattened out from the dry mounting, but, at least for me, I did a step in the right direction as far as collecting and displaying goes. But after reading all of this and figuring it out by your site, I was like, oh man, I've got a lot of work to do. But you gave me a glimmer of hope, because you said there might be a chance, since it was a foam core, that I can still salvage and have my dry mounted posters linen backed. So hopefully all of you guys out there who are watching, you want your posters restored, you gotta contact Dan. Contact me, I'll get you his info. But how did you get into this?
It was an extension of collecting. I'm like you. I'm a movie poster collector. I was always a movie buff. My era is the 60s and 70s, and it's I just had to own a piece of the movie. So I became a collector, and then I met a master printer in Toronto who learned the craft. And he, after a little coercion and so on, he taught me how to do it. And basically, it was an extension of a hobby, and it quickly grew because lots of people like yourselves, came and said, can you do one for me, and can you do mine, and then as I say, it just snowballed, and now it's a global business. With, I would suggest, 75% of our clientele is international, primarily in the United States and the UK. There's lots of people out there who are looking to get their posters, restored and preserved.
Right, and being that, I hadn't ever heard about this, and it was just because I saw the posters at Graceland, and it broke my heart. At the same time, it told a story too, because it made you think, whose bedroom was this in? You know what I mean? Or was it ever anywhere other than the theater? So it did leave a lot of questions for me, wondering where these posters had been. But at the same time, knowing that they were, so limited in quality because they were sent to the theaters, they were supposed to be destroyed after they were being used, that I was like, oh my gosh, I got to get my hands on some. So I have 7 of them now out of the 33 that I'm after. And I also have, and I don't know if you know anything about the bus billboard posters. Do you know about those? Have you seen those?
The bus billboard?
Yeah.
They're called 24 sheets, like a billboard.
Okay, yeah. It's at a bus stop, and it's like sometimes they're 2-sided, but sometimes they're not. Well.
Oh, okay.
They're huge. I mean. They are super huge, but they don't feel like they're on paper already. So I was going to ask if you knew what those were on, because I have one of those too. And
how what do you know what year it is? What is it, an Elvis poster?
No, that one is that's a Bon Jovi one that I actually got from a bus stop. I'm giving everybody my secrets here. Yes, it was from the Circle Tour, which I think was like 2011 2011 or 12 or something like that. I don't know, but so it's not very old, but
Right.
it doesn't feel like regular poster paper. So I wasn't sure if they started printing those things like in a similar fashion. I'm not sure.
No, you're absolutely right. And newer posters are more of a plastic than a paper in a lot of ways. And actually, we don't linen back those because, quite frankly, uh, they will crack and they will bubble, and they don't lend themselves to the process. So the newer posters are really not a paper per se, not like your the common type of 60s 70s poster
Right.
paper that you are referring to, the Elvis
Right.
the Elvis movie posters. They're quite different, and we don't actually linen back them. We do restore, if they get creased and so on and bent. We will restore the artwork, but we won't linen back them because they're not a typical type of a movie poster paper.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Because yeah, when I had that one, I was like, it's so different that I didn't even know if there was anything anyone could ever do to preserve something like that. I mean, it seemed pretty sturdy as it is. But back to the Elvis posters and any other old movie posters. That's how I grew up. Movies and music were my life, and collecting these posters has been huge. But along our journey at Center Stage Magazine, we've come across some amazing things, all related back to Elvis, which is the greatest thing in the world. But we were at Colonel Tom Parker's house. One of our friends purchased the excavation rights because the property was sold to be turned into a car wash, which is just criminally, it's insane. I can't even believe it's just a crime that they did not preserve history the way that they should have. And I'm sorry, Madison County, I'm mad at you. Shouldn't have let that house go. Anyways, when they were taking down Elvis's original fan club building, they found a Hank Snow original poster, like playbill type thing poster, and it was crumbled and torn. So I've contacted that family and given them your information because, they're the ones that have Storytellers Museum and the Mama Cash House, Johnny Cash's farm, and they have a lot of memorabilia too. And so I know that they're into preserving and they're into, salvaging all of this, historical music memorabilia. So hopefully you'll be able to help them out too. But when I saw that Hank Snow poster, at first my heart was just torn to pieces and it was just broken because I'm like, how could you ever restore this? And then I come across you and I'm like, oh my God, it can be saved. So how many posters have you like restored to date, do you think?
Well, I've been doing it since 1999, so
Oh wow.
So it's been hundreds of posters actually that we've restored, and I mean the beauty of it is that when some of the worst cases that come forward, you would think, and most people would think, this is destined for the garbage can.
Right.
And you know what? We take the paper, we peel all the tape off it, we restore the missing pieces of paper, we restore the image, and they can quite frankly look stunning when they're finished. What looked like something, as I say, looked like it was garbage, ends up looking out absolutely stunning. So we've seen really bad, and the only thing that I think that people who are watching this might be a little freaked out about, and I was when I first started, was that your poster eventually goes in the water, right? It goes into a water bath. That's how we get the fold lines out of it, right? So it's everything goes in water. It's good because it relaxes the paper, so all the fold lines are rolled out nicely. If you have water damage on a poster, as soon as it goes into the water, it's reversed, right?
That's so crazy.
You get that crinkling when paper gets wet, or you get staining and things like that. We can actually reverse that through the linen backing process. The only time we run into real difficulties is if something has gotten wet
Mm-hmm.
and has gotten really moldy, because
Oh,
mold will have the integrity of the paper.
yeah.
So when you put it into the water, it turns into like a tissue paper. And
Right.
I'm sure you know what trying to deal with a wet tissue paper is like. It's pretty unstable. So.
Yeah, yeah. And I love that your site, you have videos that actually demonstrate some of these processes, because it really is very interesting, and it's something that, I mean, I was just glued to my computer screen, and I was just like, wow, I've really got to get this done. And that was when I started emailing you, because I thought, I got to get this stuff done. And I have to tell you too that part of me almost feels really bad for some of the people selling this stuff online, because they're selling it as in really, really, really bad condition, and when it's really not. I mean, some stuff is in very poor condition with tears and whatever, but I actually just scored the Stay Away Joe poster that Elvis did, and I got it for $25, and the guy was like, it's really, we don't do returns, and it's in really bad shape. And I was like, okay, no big deal. Okay, I have to show you this, because seriously, it was not in bad shape at all. And then he sent it to me without even charging me, and it was just the craziest thing. So I don't even know if he's actually gotten paid yet. But I feel really bad. But I have an amazing poster that's, it's got some work, but hopefully you can tell me right now if it really is. And you talked about doodling on the back of them, right? There's doodling.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's not well. That's your typical National Screen Service stamp on the back.
yes. Oh, let me
They
show
would
that
have
to
stamped
people
every
again.
single.
That right there, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Stamp. Yep. And 60 and what is it? 68.
Yes.
And what was the other number?
99.
So it's 1968,
Mm-hmm.
and 99 stands for the 99th movie of the year
Yes.
of that year.
That's awesome. And it's really common that people see that number and they think, oh my gosh, I got number 68 out of number 99, and they only made 99, right?
Yes.
How often do you hear that?
I heard it recently. They actually thought it was a limited edition print, and I said, well, no, not really.
Well, see, and that's the thing, and that's where we were at first, and then I was like, what are the odds that we're getting all these 68 out of whatever? Like, it's really, somebody must have had that. Like, that must have been a specific theater that they sent that one to. So we were coming up with all kinds of ideas for why they were numbered. But okay, so you tell me, because I know that compared to some of the other posters we got, I don't feel like this one's in that bad a shape. Can you see or no?
Oh yeah. And like, I mean, that is in actually pretty decent shape. It's in actually good shape.
Here,
So
hold
it's
it.
got fold lines. The fold lines look like they're kind of deep
Right.
in places,
And
but
it's got
there's
some
no
water stains too.
there's no missing paper.
No, and then
But
see,
the image is entirely there.
yeah, and then right there is the water stain. But I
Yeah,
mean,
so it's got a little bit of water stain, but as I just
Yeah.
mentioned to you, when it goes into the linen backing process,
mhm.
that stain will be reversed.
It's crazy. It's so awesome that you're able to
Right.
do this, and that we found you. And I can't even wait to see these things when they come back. And I know I'm gonna ship them all to you. And I know it's gonna take a while, because number one, it's a lot to do, and number two, just I don't have my house built yet to display all of these things yet. So when they come back, do you suggest if people get these done and then they store them, that they keep them rolled or they keep them flat?
Either or,
Okay.
it really doesn't matter. I don't like to roll linen back posters really tight. So so I'll use when I ship. Typically, I ship in like a large construction tube. The type of tubes that people use to build a deck. That's what I ship in. And so far, the United States Postal Service and Canada Post have not found out a way to destroy them. So I ship in large building tubes, and those are the tubes that I typically store my posters in too. So they're
Okay.
rolled, but they're not rolled really tight. But you can do either. I mean, if you've got lots of space,
Right.
storing them flat is perfectly fine too. Just make
Okay.
sure that when you store them in a dry spot,
Right.
because if they get wet, then they're gonna go wavy on you.
Absolutely. Now, do you recommend too that people, when you get them linen backed and you go to put them in a frame, that you still use a mat?
Well, let's put it this way. Depending, I mean, it's your personal preference on how you want it to look. Um, the only thing I would absolutely positively recommend, well, you don't want to mount it because it's already mounted.
Right.
So don't let your framer talk you into getting it, say, dry mounted or whatever, right? You put a little drop of glue in each corner to make sure that it stays in the frame. But our client in the UK, one of them anyway, they take our linen back posters and they actually professionally frame them for their clientele, and they are in mats,
Okay.
so which is fine, and they look lovely,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure they spend a great deal on their frames, and
Yeah.
their clients are probably pretty well off, I would suggest, but they look beautiful. So
Yeah.
it's personal preference, right, on how you want to
Right.
display them and how you want to frame them. But just make sure that no one ever talks you into getting it mounted because it's
Right.
already mounted on canvas. It's on the
Right.
linen.
Right. And you want to make sure too, for everybody at home, you need to use the acid free, mats, because you don't want to have anything. You don't want to have anything with acid in it touching any of your posters, and it's better to get the UV reduction glass, right, or plexiglass.
Well, probably, I mean, as again, I mean, if you can, if you can afford that, every little thing is going to help to further preserve your poster.
Right.
It is already on an acid-free Japanese massa paper, so again, everything that you can do to help to, preserve it is good.
Now, what is your favorite piece been to restore so far? Do you have one?
My favorite piece,
Mm-hmm.
um, probably like a James Bond Goldfinger. I'm a big Bond fan,
All right.
so Sean Connery and his era of stuff. So I've got, like you, I've got one piece from every one of the Connery films. So those are probably like my favorites that we worked on.
Yeah.
Probably the most valuable piece that we worked on was the attack of the 50-foot woman.
Oh wow.
And so that's anywhere from say $10,000 to $20,000. So we've done one of those, or we've done a couple of those. So yeah, I mean, and the Alfred Hitchcock posters are all very, very collectible, all very valuable. And we have done Jailhouse Rock, and we've done a number of
I want that one.
and yeah, I love the graphics, and the graphics on the Elvis posters are just fabulous.
They are, and just the 7 that I have, the colors are just so much fun, and then they're all so different, and it's just amazing to me to have even what I do have. And like I said, it all started with while I was just touring Graceland, and I saw the condition of the posters they had on display, and I was just like, no, I can't do it. So I just made it a goal that I wanted to get as many of them as I could, and have them preserved, because I think I was pretty traumatized after Colonel Tom Parker's house was destroyed, and there's a lot of Elvis fans who they may have their issues with Colonel Tom Parker, whatever. The fact is, Elvis even said if it hadn't been for him, he wouldn't have been who he was. It wouldn't have got to where he was. So, and that's an important piece of history. And so I was so traumatized by that being just destroyed that I couldn't handle the thought of anything else being destroyed. And so I've made it a mission. But now it's like, I have all these other ones that I know about that I think I want to have restored too. And so you're going to have like years of work from me, because I am telling you right now, I'm probably not going to stop. I don't know how to do it myself, nor do I have the time. So this is an amazing thing that you're doing. and just how great for so many people who definitely want to preserve, those movies. They're, times are changing, things are changing constantly, and, preserving our history. I mean, it's so sad thinking about how many things have already been destroyed that you can't get back. And, they make posters to sell now every day, but back then that's not what they were. So it's pretty interesting to me.
You're absolutely right. I mean, posters, especially for for the movies, they were printed for theaters only. They were not printed for public consumption.
Right.
And back when the Elvis movies were in the theaters, we didn't have 21 theater cineplexes. They were like one screen theaters and drive-ins, right? So there wasn't nearly as many printed. And they were printed specifically for the theaters and not public consumption.
Right. So I have...
the other thing that we're seeing quite a lot of when you raise the issue of preserving history, and I think it's a lot of folks in our generation who have come across a war era poster, a war bond poster that their grandfather put in the attic or in the closet or something like that. We're doing a lot of those war era posters for, as I say, people in our generation to preserve, and it's because it's it's something that is emotional for them and has a lot of meaning to them.
Exactly, and it's
not a lot of value, but it has a lot of personal history and family history to them.
Right, and it's amazing when you go to any museum or any place that has an artifact on display, and it immediately takes you back, and you think about the stories and about what took place, and just to know that item is several hundred years old or whatever the case may be. It's so interesting to see these things intact. So when, people like you are taking the time and helping us preserve those items, it's just, to me, it's a blessing that I found you. I'm so excited. And I want to tell you that this poster that I unwrapped right now that I want to show you, I feel like this one is probably the one that we have in the worst condition of all of them. So I want you to maybe tell everybody so that they can see, because this one's got missing color, it's got some missing paper, it's got some tears. So I don't know if you can see it all, but you see that tear?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. And then if you look closely, see the missing color?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It looked like it had a bit of something sticky on it, and they pulled it off.
Yeah, it looks like the sticky part is down at the bottom, and there's like the extra paper down there.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, that still is in absolutely terrible condition. What's the back look like?
The back.
Is there anything else?
The back doesn't actually look horrible.
Yeah, I mean, that would be, I would suggest that would be like a typical piece that we would restore.
Okay.
And it's not terribly, it's not in terrible condition. And the thing about the linen backing is that tear will be stabilized. So when it's on the linen, it's not gonna tear anymore.
Right.
And you will be able to handle it without fear of damaging it further, and your framer will be able to handle it without fear of damaging it further.
Yes,
right?
And that is my fear, because they're so fragile, and you can feel the paper. It's just like, I don't even like pulling them out, but I wanted to show you, and I have to I was going to take pictures of those ones for you anyway. Hopefully now that you've seen them, I can still take pictures if you need them, but those are the one that was labeled in worse condition, and then the one that I just showed you that had the tears, that one was listed in better condition than the Stay Away Joe one that I got. So I do really feel bad for the guy I got it from $25 for, because I feel like I kind of got a steal on that one. But is there any?
But you were able to take it out of the envelope in one piece.
Yeah.
I've taken posters like that out of the envelope in 8 pieces,
Wow.
where the fold separation was such that it basically broke into 8 pieces. So, like, those are the types of posters where, you go, okay, so that's in pretty poor condition, right? Where they're broken into 8 pieces,
Right.
they're missing paper, they're, tape stains all over the place. Those like that is in really poor condition.
Right.
Yours are, as I say, really stable and in really nice shape, missing almost no paper. The image is almost complete. So, they're in pretty decent shape.
Oh, well, I'm so glad to hear that because I just, the one, when we opened it, we didn't realize there was all the tears in it, and we were like, oh, we don't know, but we've seen your work, and I even posted some before and after pictures on our website for everybody to see because your work is just phenomenal. But is there anything else that you want everybody to know about the importance of this process or about, the preservation of posters in general? Is there anything you want everybody to know?
Well, we talked about the process in and of itself, and the one thing that I find is you could have 2 copies of Stay Away Joe, and they would look similar, but no 2 posters are actually the same, and they don't always react the same to the process. But ours I would say our success rate is in the 99.9 percentile. We very rarely come across a piece that reacts poorly to the linen backing process, and quite frankly, they all almost all without exception look really, really good when we're done. So and then people can enjoy them for decades to come. I've had pieces in the personal collection now, linen back for 25 years, and they look exactly like they do when I brought them home. Right?
That's incredible. Now, do you ever sell any, or do you just do the service for others and for yourself?
Well, I have a collection. If I have duplicates or if I have a poster that I'm that isn't near and dear to my heart, I would give it up, and then I have in the past.
Okay.
So.
Well, so that I'm the big Elvis girl. So if you get any duplicates, you gotta hit me up first. Call me, email me, whatever. Be like, Missy, I got your Elvis poster. I know that the ones that I want some of them are pretty pricey, but man, I'm determined. I'm gonna get all 33 movies. I'm gonna do it. Just watch me.
Well, I believe you. You're determined.
I am so determined. It's not even funny. It was like, I could go on and on all day. You're so much fun to talk to. But with that being said, everybody at home, you have posters. You need them restored. Call me, message me. I'll get you in contact with Dan. We'll put up all his links. And until next time, guys, stay tuned.